What is up, Lake listeners? Thank you so much for tuning in to our Grow, Thrive, and Inspire podcast from RE/MAX Lake of the Ozarks. Today we have our broker owner, Jeff Krantz here, as well as an incredible special guest who founded our company over 30 years ago, Mr. Frank Christensen. Can you guys believe that we have Frank on this show?
I know, I didn't think
It's
it
been a
happened.
long time.
Did not think we'd get this done.
Are you super excited to be here?
No, I would really rather be home, doing something else. You know, when I retired, I thought that my days of doing things like this were over, but I'm glad to be back.
We're really excited to have you. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule today. I wanted to start kind of from the very beginning, go a little back, and tell us what brought you to the Lake of the Ozarks and just kind of some history about yourself.
Oh, Kaylen, that's a story in and of itself. My wife and kids had a great life in Illinois. I was the dean of a college, and my wife was a nurse. Our kids were small, but we were living in suburbia, and I'd get up in the morning, go to work. They didn't know what I did. It wasn't much of a family life, and we enjoyed camping. We'd been to the Ozarks many, many times and just loved it whenever we came here and thought it was such a beautiful place. And one day we said, why don't we go down and just look around at some resorts and see if there's anything that would interest us. And so one Easter weekend, we loaded up the kids, drove to Lake of the Ozarks, and bought a resort, Wrenwood Resort out on the end of Horseshoe Bend. And that's how it all started.
Wow, so you bypassed a house and went right into a resort.
You betcha, yeah. It was a great experience, and my wife got a job right away as a nurse, and I had an opportunity to work for a consulting firm in the fall and winter and spring, working with college faculty on teaching them how to work with adult learners. So it fell into place pretty well. I had my summers to work at the resort, and in the fall I did my consulting work.
Wow, that is impressive. What college were you a dean of?
I was at a large community college in suburbs of Chicago, William Rainey Harper Community College.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
That's neat. What drove you to start your real estate company in 1988? Like, what did you envision?
Oh, it was an accident. I never intended to get into real estate. After we had the resort for a few years, we decided to convert it to condominiums, and so we started tearing down units and building condominiums, and where the resort was is now Wrenwood Condominiums. And then once that was done, a couple of friends of mine wanted to partner and do another one, and so we built Pelican Bay Condominiums out on KK. And then I got involved in the Moorings and the Moorings Yacht Club, and was part of that group for a while. And when I got done, I needed something to do, and I was selling some of the condominiums that we built, and ended up getting my real estate license so to facilitate that process. And then when they were pretty well gone, I started a small real estate company, and that's how I got into real estate in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. How many condominium projects were you working on?
Three.
Three?
3 different ones.
Are you still involved with those now?
No, they're completed. I'm turning that field over to Jeff. He's in the condominium business now.
Condominium business. Why did you choose RE/MAX as a brand?
Well, it was interesting. I was working in a real estate company, had a couple of partners, and the company was failing. It just wasn't doing anything. And I had heard about RE/MAX and their commission concept of giving 100% of their commissions, and then the agents in turn paying a monthly fee. And that really intrigued me. I thought, if you're a good agent, why would you not just jump on that bandwagon? And so I went to my partners and I said, I think we need to change directions. I think we need to go into the franchise business with RE/MAX. And they had a meeting and came back and said, no, RE/MAX won't work at the lake. It'll work in the city, but not at the lake. And I said, I don't agree with you. I'm going to leave and go ahead and start the company.
Well, and that was kind of my next question. You brought a different and kind of more progressive real estate model to the area back then. Like, what kind of challenges did you face? Did you have any fears of any kind when you were starting out?
Well, when you start a company without any money and without any agents, There were some fears. Sure, there were a lot of fears, and we leased a small office in a shopping center, and we're able to get 5, 6, 7 agents over the next year and a half, but it really wasn't going anywhere. And I had a partner then, Gene Montfort, and we were in an office facility that was pretty shabby. And we thought that, while we have a good real estate model, our facility isn't one that will attract the agents that we want. And so we decided to go to the bank, borrow money, and build this building that we're sitting in now, which is called the RE/MAX main office building. And if you've seen the movie Field of Dreams, there's a line in it, "Build it and they will come." Well, that's what happened. By the time we were done building this building, we built it for 18 agents. We were full. We attracted a bunch of agents right away. So many that the next year we added a 1,000 square feet to the back of this. And so we expanded it to accommodate more agents. And we were able to really attract some good quality agents and start moving forward.
Where was the location before you built this building?
Well, it was in a shopping center where Dick's Sporting Goods is now.
Oh, okay.
There was a shopping center there, Consumers Grocery Store. That's all gone now, and it's all built up with Deerbergs and Dick's and that.
Well, that's neat.
Yeah.
You were such an early adapter to the team model as well, and supporting the teams and team growth. Why did you support that so much? Can you elaborate on just your feelings on teams at that time?
We had a couple in our company, Mike and Tanya Grine. Mm-hmm. And Tanya was a superior real estate agent. She was just a superstar. And Mike was a great agent too, but he was the business end of that operation, where she was more of the selling end. You put a person in a car with Tanya, and she would write a contract. On the other hand, Mike was really good with the business and in listing property, and they made a good team together by working together and leveraging their individual skills. And so Mike would list property and develop systems for the business, and Tanya was the selling end of it. And they continued to refine their business to the point where they were really superstars, early superstars in the company. And I watched them and talked to them about what they were doing, and I could see how they were able to leverage themselves to do a lot of business. And they were willing to share it with their other agents, and our other agents were interested in following that model. And I had some really good agents at that time. Jane Kelly had come into the company as an independent agent, working by herself. Jeff had come into the company as a new young agent with Mel, and they saw what was going on with the ability to leverage yourself and get to do really what you do best and get other people to help you, a support staff. And so that's how it started. And we were one of the first companies in the country to really embrace teams, really get it going.
You had mentioned that when you developed this building that we're in now, you build it and they will come. Did that happen because it was purposeful to try to get people to come, or did they just come on their own?
Well, we had a good model. We had a good real estate model, the 100% concept, the training that we were doing, and the systems that we're developing. So we had the model in place, but we didn't have a facility that was attractive. And once we had a more attractive facility, then it became easier to attract those agents. Now that was good on one hand, but it was rough on the other hand, because it really intimidated a lot of the other brokers in the area. They weren't happy that we were growing, that we were developing market share, that we were number one in market share. And we probably bragged about that a little bit from time to time, and that annoyed them. And at one time they were having secret meetings to decide how they could destroy RE/MAX, how they could put us out of business, how they could stop us. And that's against the law.
Yeah.
You know, when you interfere with business practices of another company, that's called tortious interference. And so I contacted RE/MAX International, and I said, I have evidence that there are brokers meeting to see what they can do to stop us. And they said, if it's a problem, we'll bring in a legal defense team for you. So I got the name of one of the agents that, one of the brokers that had been meeting. And I called him and I said, can I meet with you for a few minutes in my office? He came in and I said, so I know what you're doing. I know who you're meeting with, but I want to make a deal with you. When this comes to trial, if you will attest to the people that were in the meeting, I'll not prosecute you. Scared the hell out of him.
I bet.
Scared the hell out. I said, this is jail time, buddy. And he went back and word spread pretty fast and there were no more secret meetings.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So it was not all rosy. I mean, we had our hurdles to overcome as we built the company.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you had #1 market share. Did that happen pretty quickly for you?
It happened probably in the 90s. Probably after about 6 years in business, we grew pretty rapidly.
I kind of want to switch gears a little bit and talk about how, you know, you inspire so many agents to think about their business model and their business planning. And you traveled all over the region and all over the country talking about the importance of treating your business like a business. What was that like?
Well, it started before I got to RE/MAX. When I was working in the college, every year we had to develop a plan for our division and outline what our goals were and how we were going to accomplish them and what we were going to do to build our division the way we wanted to. And in real estate, that just wasn't a common practice. People would come in and go about their work and end up the year, and then next year say, well, gosh, I hope that next year I have a good year, without really thinking about how that was going to happen. And I thought, you know, if business planning works for business and industry, all major corporations have a business plan, many business plans outlining what they're going to do and how they're going to do it and their budget and details about how they're going to move the company forward. If that's good for them, why wouldn't it be good for us? And so we started on a small scale, working with the agents, having them think about their business, what they could do, where their business came from. One of the first exercises we did was to have everybody write down every transaction and where that customer came from. Did it come from a sign call? Did it come from a referral? Did it come from an open house? And what we found is that about 80% of the business came from referrals. And yet all the money was spent on newspaper ads, paper advertising, marketing that didn't really produce any results. And it dramatically shifted how we started to think about our business and how we could spend time building on the things that really worked in our business and not paying much attention to those things that didn't have much effect. And it caused us some issues with our advertisers from the newspapers and the real estate books that we stopped advertising in a lot because they just didn't produce the results. So once you start looking at your business like a business, it gives you the opportunity to take the guesswork out of it. So at the start of the year, you know that this is going to be a good year because these are the things I'm going to do that's going to cause it to happen.
Mm-hmm. And did the regional managers, I assume Dennis at the time, reach out to get you to come and teach it at other RE/MAX?
Oh yeah, it moved pretty fast. Once they saw what we were doing and saw the results, I was asked to speak at the national conventions and had the opportunity to go to other regions of the country and speak to brokers and agents. Probably 10,000 agents over the years that I've talked to.
Were you nervous?
Not as nervous as I am here talking to you.
Really? Really? Oh, wow. Fast forwarding a little bit, tell me about what you were like. Tell me about when you were getting ready to retire and how Jeff came into the picture there, like what challenges you faced when you were thinking about retiring?
I really didn't want to retire. What I wanted to do was have a succession plan. And in my business plan, for about 4 years, I said, this year I'm going to develop a succession plan for my business. And I kept putting it off because I really didn't want to deal with that. But I experienced a couple of things that really pushed me to make sure that happened. I had a real good friend in New Orleans, and he had a big office, had 150 agents in his office, and he died of a heart attack instantly.
Oh, wow.
And his office went into shambles. The region had to bring in a person to help manage it. His brother came in without any real estate experience and tried to hold it together. But you know, Kaylen, it's sad to say there were a lot of people in New Orleans, mostly other brokers, who didn't care that he died, because now they could go after his agents. Oh. And so there was a feeding frenzy on his agents. His agents were confused. They didn't know what to do. And the office really suffered dramatically. And then Jeff and I know of a broker in St. Louis that died of a heart attack, a young man, younger than me, and caused the same effect. His office was in disarray. And I thought that we had too much at stake to risk that. You know, we don't know from day to day what's going to happen. And so it wasn't so much about retiring, it was about a succession plan. And how Jeff came into the picture, Jeff and George were partners of mine in the team building. Mm-hmm. When we built the team building, Jeff and George became a partner in that operation. So I had the chance to work with both of them and felt really comfortable with both of them. But I hadn't really thought about Jeff as a broker. Well, Jeff and I went to California to an auction. Actually, it wasn't an auction. It was an event where this entrepreneur brought investors together who might be interested in buying resort properties. And we made presentations about Lake of the Ozarks, and they actually bought properties there that they'd never seen.
Oh my gosh. And
I thought, if Jeff can sell properties to California investors that they have never seen, he probably can run a company. And so I thought about Jeff, and on the way home from California, I got up, went over and sat down next to Jeff, and asked him if he would be interested in becoming part of the company. I don't think he said anything at the time. I think he was a little shocked and dumbfounded at the time, but that's where it started. And I wanted George to be a part of that, because George has such a knack for taking care of buildings and structures and all of the other parts of the organization that we have, that I felt that it would be a good approach to have the three of us as a team to manage the company.
Well, I think you've probably got a handle on what kind of shoes they are to step into. The agents that work for Frank, including me, we were constantly pushed, constantly challenged. What he doesn't say is how much time he spent trying to get agents who are they don't typically look at their business like a business. They're in selling mode 24/7. And it's hard to get them to actually take the time to look at their business. So he had years and years of working with agents to get them to define where their business comes from, where they're putting their money, how do they budget things, including me. So I was one of them. So it was daunting to think about trying to do anything that he did. He used to tease me. He'd say, "You want my job?" And I'd say, "Nope, absolutely not." But it was, as much as I knew I had to earn it, I had him right there. Mm-hmm. So we worked together every day for a long, long time. And just like he said, we were partners together on the team building and then on the landmark. So I had a real tremendous level of comfort on how he worked and how he handled people, and so it was easy knowing I had a phone a friend anytime I needed one. So, but I watched, and it was really interesting. Sometimes I didn't know until after the fact, but he would let me go and let me out there on the edge alone for a little while, see if I failed, and then he would help out, and then so he made that happen. He made it happen. So, what
were some of the leadership qualities that you kind of took and incorporated into your own?
I think that one of the neatest experiences, because of the business planning and because of the following that Frank had, when we would go to conventions, and it wasn't a choice, it was we're going to conventions, so it was an intentional exposure. I think we were exposing ourselves to different things. He took me with him on a number of those presentations to other companies, and so I think it was just being put in a position where, hey, you're going to do this. So I guess I didn't know at the time what leadership skills I was learning, but I was learning them because I was with him.
Pushing.
That's the same, yes, very much so. And that's the same thing you have to do with your own agents that you work with every day. You have to step outside and help with accountability and ideas and keeping deals together and all that day-to-day stuff that we deal with.
Who may not know, like myself.
Well, Jason came into the picture when I started to think about retiring. Up until that point, I was still very involved with I wasn't really involved. I would let Jeff and George run the company, and I would just kind of mess around and not do much. But when it was time for me to think about retiring, I wanted to bring someone in that could add something different, that could be a deciding difference for the company. There were a lot of agents that would have been very happy to become that third partner, but we didn't need another Jeff and we didn't need another George. And my son was talking with me one day, and we were talking about it, and he said, well, what about Jason Whittle? He's a rock star in Camdenton, former NFL ball player, had his own company, and I thought, gosh, I don't think that he would even be interested. And I know that Jeff had talked to him about joining the company, about bringing a team over, and he kind of blew Jeff off. And so I called Jason, and I said, Jason, I want to have lunch with you. And he said, sure. And we sat down and had some chicken wings, and I said, Jason, do you know why we're here? He said, well, I think so. Jeff has tried to get me to bring a team over, and I figured that's what you wanted to talk to me about. And I said, no, Jason, it's not. I said, I want you to buy into the company and be a third partner. And he just stared at me. And we talked some more, and I didn't know whether it was going to go anywhere. And I said, well, Jason, why don't you think about it, and if you want to meet again, let me know. And he said, when do you want to meet? Just like that. Wow. And so for the next 4 months, Jason and I would meet in secret. We would meet and have conversations. We would exchange documents about the company, financial statements, and everything that he needed to make good decisions on. Sometimes it looked like a drug deal going down, because he'd say, I'll meet you in Staples parking lot. And we'd drive up, and I'd hand him an envelope, and he'd hand me something, and we'd take off. And it was a well-kept secret. And finally, I brought Jason in and introduced him to the company at one of our business meetings, and said, this is our new third partner for the company. And everybody was ecstatic. Oh. And he brought his entire team and became that third partner, and has done just a phenomenal job augmenting the work that Jeff and George are doing.
Yeah, the three of them, I like to call them the Three Musketeers, in my opinion. They definitely keep it going. Big shout out to Jason too for doing those almost looking like drug deal meetings.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just a side note, the other day when I came back from Florida, I had heard that George had remodeled this office, and I wanted to see it. So I stopped by one day and walked in and looked around and was really impressed with the work that had been done to transform what we had originally built in 1990 to what we have here today. It's a remarkable facility. And then I walked back downstairs and stood outside, and I looked at the sign, RE/MAX Lake of the Ozarks, the #1 in the world in transactions. And I thought for a moment, my gosh, how far this organization has come. What a tremendous job that these guys have done, and how proud I am of them.
Oh. Yeah. Had a heck of a foundation to work from.
Mm-hmm.
It was good.
It was good.
Yeah.
Frank, I just have to ask, what in your opinion is kind of your greatest achievement looking back?
Well, gosh, there's been so many small steps that we took. I think that the way we built the culture of the company into one that's sharing, to have things like this going on is a tremendous thing for the agents and for the company. And it has grown out of a culture of sharing. And that's why when you ask people to do this, they're so willing to participate. I heard Jane Kelly did one the other day, and anytime you ask, you'll find that people will say yes. And that's a culture of sharing that we have developed at the company, which is a great achievement. I think that the team development was a phenomenal thing that happened. The business planning, allowing agents to transform their real estate activities into a real business that they could see tangible results from, was a major accomplishment. The charitable foundation is absolutely phenomenal for the agents to be a part of, and what wonderful things that organization is doing for the community. The money and the ability to give back to the community is just a wonderful, wonderful thing. So I think that you can't say there's a big achievement. I think that there's just a lot of little steps that we made that worked out very well. And I think probably the biggest achievement was the selection of the succession team that has driven this company way beyond what it was when I left it.
I would have to agree with you, taking little small things and they all add up to something big. I actually have some questions from other agents that they were curious to hear from you. When you were in the industry, what did your daily routine look like? Just taking a day out of the week, kind of, did you spend your morning prospecting? Did you go around meeting with people? Kind of, what did that routine look like?
Well, I was never a very good realtor. I will be the first to admit that. I didn't like real estate. The business of putting people in a car and driving them around and showing them property was, that's a hard thing to do. And having them and going on listing presentations, that was hard. And I finally decided that I was better at developing people who could do that better than I. And I needed to focus on doing the business of real estate rather than the practice of real estate.
I'm envisioning like a Yoda. He
Yeah,
was very much like a Yoda. I appreciate your honesty with that question. Looking back, if you could have changed anything, what would you have changed?
Oh gosh, there's probably a lot of things I probably would have changed, but I've never focused on that. I've focused on the things that we could do and how we could move forward, and I really haven't thought too much about what we would have changed.
That's good. It's good to go forward and not have any real regrets or anything, so I'm glad to hear that. Last agent question that I had, what advice would you give to agents, especially now with COVID in mind, for their real estate business?
don't panic. This is an event that is going to pass. We don't know what the outcome will be. I think that we're going to be facing some major changes in our lives. I don't know if people are going to shake hands again. I don't know if we're going to have people feel comfortable going to stadiums and concerts like we used to. But it will pass. In my history with real estate, I've seen interest rates at 18% and at 2.5%. We've gone through several recessions. In fact, in 2008 and 9 and 10, there was a complete collapse of the real estate industry that scared me much worse than the COVID pandemic scares me. So whatever happens, there is going to be change. We have to be able to embrace change. We're going to have to deal with it, stay positive, and always think about the best thing that we can do for our clients and our customers.
Well, Grow, Thrive, and Inspire listeners, it's not every day that we get to talk to the founder and leader of our company, but it's been a lifelong dream of mine, and it's come true. So we're very thankful, Frank, for you bringing all of your knowledge and your experience here with us and sharing it. I truly appreciate it. Grow, Thrive, Inspire listeners, you for sure want to keep coming back every Wednesday for more episodes. Be sure to like our page and subscribe to catch the latest updates. And remember also that we have our RE/MAX Lake of the Ozarks Facebook page. Like and follow and check out any open houses that might be coming up. We like to post those on Thursdays for the upcoming weekend. If you love the lake, we know that you'll love it permanently or even part-time. And remember to always grow, thrive, and inspire.